Welcome to Coach My Wellness, a weekly show dedicated to bringing you information about healthy habits and behaviors just for the health of it. Here's your hosts, Joanne and Tammy.
Welcome to Coach My Wellness and our show today, Just for the Health of It, with Tammy St. Clair
and Joanne Orshan
on 360 Talk Radio for Women. We've been talking about what is a health coach and why do you need one? And today we're going to start diving into those questions.
Yeah, so when we're talking with everyone, we want you to really think about, are you really done with all of those quick fixes? And are you someone who is looking to make changes that last? I think most of us are in that mindset if we're tuning in today. So Tammy and I want to break it down for you and talk a little bit about what we can do as far as why you might be in that up and down roller coaster of working, not sure what you want to do, and how can we motivate and inspire you to work with tools that we can help you with to improve your change process. Right?
Yeah. And sometimes, Joanne, things happen in our life and we're told, oh, you have to fix this. You need to change this. And we're a little afraid of how do we do that because it's just scary.
Yeah, there are so many times that when I work with clients, and I'm sure many of you out there have said this, well, if I don't have my health, I don't have anything. And that's really a great thing to say, but I know so many people that wait until they get into a crisis situation before they keep themselves accountable or have a coach work with them to keep them accountable to really identify and to work on lifestyle changes that can make a difference in the quality of their health and wellness.
Right. And I think you just said something there. The difference is it a transient change? Oh, I've got something going on, a wedding, an anniversary, a college reunion, a high school reunion. And so our motivation is transient, or is it something more serious, a health condition that, all of a sudden how we take care of ourselves really matters in how that health condition progresses?
I know that through a lot of the pandemic, a lot of my clients have come to me because they just feel kind of really crummy. I don't know any other way else to say that. And a lot of that has to do with the shift in our lifestyle over the past couple of years. And that could mean whether they are now working from home a lot, stress, isolation, sleep has been challenging. It's really interesting. I have a client of mine who's a very high-powered executive in New York City. And I remember our discussions prior to the pandemic when she was talking about how much time she spends with getting up so early in the morning to make sure that she gets to the railroad on time, rushing in to get to Manhattan, the meetings that last at night, the train ride home. And by the time she would sit down to have dinner, it could be 8:30 at night. And the ironic piece of all of this is that when everyone was shut down and working at home, her complaint to me was then, well, I'm working harder now than I did when I was commuting. How is that possible? Right? And right. I think, so much of that was, first of all, there were a lot of people that were laid off, right? So she was lucky and was able to solidify her job, but she was now taking on the role of 2 or 3 different people. So the amount of time that she had sitting in front of her computer on a daily basis working remotely was a really big lifestyle adjustment for her. And along with that, all of the other structure that she had for setting up her daily life, as far as organizing and preparing her food, scheduling in her exercise, focusing perhaps on meditation or some quiet time, all of that was a free-for-all, and we had to really identify and pull together what she could do now in order to prioritize her goals, because she really did want to make changes.
Right. I think when something happens to our schedule, and now we're working from home, like during the pandemic, we all thought, oh, now I have all of this extra time. the whole sense of structure faded away. And so we had to reevaluate, what is it? How can I keep some structure and get done the things that need to get done, but also learning to take care of myself? And then comes this, oh, I need to lose weight. I need, my blood pressure's out of control.
Right.
Something's happening. And so we have a lot of wishes in our life of things we would like to do, but we then sort of scratch our head and say, well, yeah, but that only lasts me for a week or two after I leave the doctor's office. And then,
Right.
my motivation sort of goes away. And
when it comes to eating specifically, Tammy, so many people I hear, every week, as you know, there's another quick fix diet out on the marketplace, right? And everyone is looking for that real quick fix. But the truth is, and many of us know this, that maybe we're successful in the beginning, but then what happens? We put it back on and then we put some more on, and all of a sudden we're out of control and we say, how did that happen? But it comes down to a couple of things. And the first is, starting out, if you're really looking to make changes, is what is your true desire for making changes? Are you saying things like, I want to, I would like to, I wish to, I am willing to, right? Those all indicate that someone is really looking to make a change, other than
just the transient kind of, oh, I want to, oh, I'm going. The words that you use, the wish, want, like to, really show more that people are willing to make the permanent change that creates a lifestyle. And I think they have to move, all of us do, out of this mindset that says, oh, I only have to do this until I go back to the doctor next and get a better report. Well, see, that's kind of the transient short-term dieting mentality. And what happens is when you change from that, when you go back to eating the way I used to, right? I cleaned up my eating, or I cleaned up my exercise or whatever, until I go back to the doctor and I see, oh, that's really great. Okay, well, I don't have to do those things anymore. And that's such a short-term, thought process and mentality. And then we move in from desire, the wish, want, like to, into ability. I can. If I'm making the choice about how do my behaviors change, how does my lifestyle change? Well, I can ride a bike. I can go for a walk. I can go out and take the dog out for an extra long walk. But sometimes we say that, and then immediately we hear, but.
Well, that's the excuse piece, right? We hear that all the time. It's like, want to, but, or I was going to, but. And how much I think about, I had a client I worked with this morning, and we're really working toward her getting back onto a good path for herself. She just had a major loss in her life through the pandemic. And so she's really in the grieving process and struggling. And we were talking about her menu, and she was sending me a journal to help to identify some areas that she could improve upon during the week. And I noticed that she really was not prepared well, or maybe not structured well. So we sat down this morning and we really discussed what it is that she wants to change for her eating habits. What is she willing to do to prepare better? What is she willing to do, da-da-da-da-da? And then together we laid out a possibility of a menu plan for her, which she wrote down for the next 3 days. And then the homework assignment really was, okay, now that we've done this and you understand the pieces of the puzzle that need to go into a full day of healthy hydration and food intake and movement in your everyday world, that now let's see what you can come up with on your own for the next couple of days. And it's really important because as a coach, it's not my role to do that for someone, right?
We don't tell you what to do.
Right.
What we're here for.
It's not about that. I mean, we can help to get you to organize your thoughts, but you have to do the work. That's what it's really all about. Until it just becomes, as Tammy, I love this, you always say this, it just becomes something that I do, where you're not really thinking about things, right?
Right. It's just part of who I am. It's, well, why do you do that? I don't know. I just do. That's just how I do it, which is very different than how I used to do things, right? When people come in and they are starting this process on why you're changing, and we begin evaluating the thoughts around the desires, wants, wishes, and then their abilities. Can you do that? Well, okay. What's holding you back? What's stopping you? What's making that ambivalence sort of come to the fore? When we're able to look at that, we can then address the ambivalence, the thing that's making you stumble, because you may think, well, yeah, I could go out for a walk for 30 minutes, but I don't know if my dog wants to. I don't know if I really want to. I might hurt. I might have arthritis, so I know it's going to hurt when I come home. So we have to kind of address those other things to make the ability really happen. And people go into having weight loss surgery, and you say to them, oh, what brings you to weight loss surgery now? And everybody has a reason, right? We all have a reason why we want these other things. And one that I hear often is, I want to be able to get on the floor and play with my little kids, or I want to play with my grandkids, or I want to be with them for a lot longer than what I'm going to right now.
So within this process of transformation, based on what you're saying, it's really identifying the possibilities. What's possible for you to do? If you have not been successful with this, without judgment from us to our clients and the people that we're working with, without that, well, if that's not working for you, what are the other possibilities? What can you do? Right? So we try and pull those things out, because that self-motivation is so important. We as coaches can help to keep you accountable and keep you on track. But you're the one that has to really dig down deep and really think about and think through the process of what is going to fit into your everyday life. And it could even be something as simple as when I have a client say that they are so stressed, work is so overwhelmed. Those are the words I hear, 24/7, right? All the time. And it'll be something like, okay, let's take a minute. I start every one of my coaching sessions, by the way, which is so beautiful, with a grounding session where we just do some deep breathing to kind of bring us to place, to be able to focus on the task at hand, which really helps with the clutter that might be in our heads. And it's a really great practice that you can do for a minute when you are feeling overwhelmed, I guess, if that's really the right word, right? It really does help.
And I think people don't, just a second on that. People don't think that a grounding breathing exercise works, and they say, oh, that's not going to work. So they do it once. And of course it doesn't work because they only did it once. But anytime we're trying to change our patterns, and I go through this with my clients a lot, it takes repetition. It takes time. It takes repeatedly doing it. So I'll say to my clients when I have them do a breathing exercise like that, okay, do it again. You're going to do it 3 or 4 times. When you're feeling that anxiety, when you're feeling that overwhelm, you're going to do it 3 or 4 times. At one of those times, you're going to feel the release. The moment that clearing happens from all the clutter, that's when you say, okay, now I'm calmer. I can move on to the next thing.
Right. So in self-care and self-talk, as you're speaking about this, it just brought to mind, this is really off the cuff, everybody. We don't have this all planned out. So sometimes Tammy and I just start talking as we get into things. But I think about meditation. When someone first approached me with this, I was a cardiologist of mine who spoke with me about meditation a while back. And I was just like, I'm not that spiritual, or I don't really get it, or I don't have the time for it, or I don't really understand it. And I made a commitment to myself that I'm hearing so much about this from people where it has been so beneficial. Maybe this could benefit me. So in my thought process of change, so this is a great example that I thought about, well, I do want to be less stressed. I do want to be a little bit more calm with my thoughts.
Right.
So perhaps I can change and try meditation, which is something I was incredibly resistant to before.
Right. And I think that's where, like, looking at the ambivalence that's within us, and that's where a coach comes in to help you recognize where this is what I say I want, but I'm a little scared, or I'm a little like, how is it really going to affect my life?
I don't think it's going to work, or I don't have time for it. I mean, I could have come up with, 100 different excuses for it. And so what I did is I ride a Peloton bike. I talk about it all the time. I just love my Peloton. And they also have fabulous little meditations, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So I said, okay, after I exercise and I'm calming and I'm cooling down, I'm just going to put my headset in and listen and see how I feel. So I then went ahead about, now it was from the desire to want to change to the ability to say, well, when can I do this? Well, I'm cooling down anyway from exercise. So this is an opportune time to just put on a headset and listen and see if I benefit from it. And then, of course, the reasoning piece that I would probably feel better if I did this. Not even necessarily, by the way, believing that I would feel better from it. But again, it's one of those things that we trick our minds to by having that positive thought, I will feel better from this. And talking the talk, even though I might not have believed it, as they say, fake it till you make it type of talk. I said, I'm just going to be persistent with it, even though I didn't know what I was doing. So it was a very interesting process. So it started with 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And through the breathing that they do and some of the very easy meditations, I was like, there's some validity here. I'm just feeling a little bit calmer right now. So what I started to do was, even before sleep, I have to preface this and go back. How many of you out there have the TV on, have your iPads on, have some kind of something out there before you go to sleep at night, right?
Yeah.
Right? We're all kind of guilty. And I remember speaking with someone about this, and I was like, gosh, I know that I'm not supposed to have that on, but after a long, hard day, all I want to do is sit down in front of that TV and watch some of my recorded shows, because that's how I deflate.
Right. And decompress.
But I also know that the blue light and the light is what keeps you up. So when I was struggling with falling asleep, I was in this conflict. I want to watch my shows.
Right.
I know that I should turn the TV off. How do I accomplish all of that? And I couldn't figure it out. And my coach said to me, you can do both. I said, I can? It was just like, really? It wasn't even a possibility. That's what I'm talking about, possibility. It wasn't a possibility. And what they said is, watch your show at night. Have a set time that you choose to say that you want to get to sleep, whether it be 11 o'clock, and I'll just use that, say 11 o'clock at night. So what she said was, just watch your show to maybe 10:30, quarter to 11. Turn the show off and give yourself 15 minutes of quiet time.
Right.
So I have a really great app that I searched for on, the web, and there were two that I came up with because I wasn't sure which one I would like. And I fell in love with one of my apps, and it was all about these bedtime stories. So I said, okay, I'm lying here anyway. I really want to fall asleep. What can I do? So I put it on, and the funniest thing, Tammy, is that to date, I don't think I've ever finished a story.
Isn't that amazing? Like, I can't sleep
It's unbelievable.
In quiet. Like, I grew up, there was always noise happening. My parents were much more like, no, you're going to fit into our lifestyle versus we're rearranging our entire lifestyle around your sleep schedule as a child. So I learned to sleep through anything and everything. So now when it's quiet, I can't sleep. And I live in New York City. There's always sirens and this and horns and everything. And so I like that idea of putting on the sleep stories app because you go to sleep with stories. And then if you wake up during the night, you can just start it again and have the stories without having the blue light.
Right. So again, this is all part of what we work at. And we're only talking about one little thing here today. But this is an example of not having a quick fix. I want changes that are going to last. Right. So that again is showing my desire for wanting to make the change, taking action by knowing that I can, I could, I might be able to, and coming up with possibilities instead of reasons why I can't. I came up with reasons why I can. And then the reasons that I would probably feel better if and I need to have more energy to get through my hectic workday. So I need better quality sleep. So I have my reasoning there. And
now we come to commitment.
Yeah. And it's no longer these statements about feeling obligated to have to change. In other words, I ought to, I should, or I have to. Because those are things that you might not be able to live up to. And so therefore, the change doesn't really last because there's always this resistance of feeling like you're being told what to do.
Because you're always doing it right. And you feel like you're always doing it for someone else, to make someone else happy. I'm making the doctor happy. I'm making this, I'm doing it for that. Versus figuring out how to do it for yourself. So when you think about the need, and like you said, well, if I do it, then I'll feel better. Well, they say I'll feel better, and hopefully I will, because I really want to feel better. And then it comes to, something you said earlier also is about non-judgmental, to be non-judgmental in this whole process, because we're all, you're learning happens on a continuum. It's a continuous basis. It's not something that, oh, that's it, I got it. And it's knowledge that's there and action that's there forever. I always use with my clients to think about when their child is learning to walk, they don't fall down on their tuchus once and then decide, oh, that's it, I'm never going to be able to use these, lower appendages that I see everybody else using, right? They just keep at it. They keep at it until not long, they're walking, they're running, they're skipping, they're doing all the things that, as they continue to learn. But it comes down to making that commitment. I will, I promise, I intend to, I'm ready. I'm really ready to kind of put myself first. Or when coaches say that to their clients, often the client's like, but I have my husband, I have my kids, I have my job, I have the dog. Yeah, and if you're not healthy, if you're not who you need to be, who fully all in for yourself, you can't be all in for them. It's really hard.
Well, that really sounds like instant gratification. How many of us just want it now? We don't want to wait. That crash diet, the thing that, you just want to take that amount of weight off. If you've put 50 pounds on, you're not taking 50 pounds off in 2 days. It's just not healthy, right? But we all want that. And it's about having a mindset of slow and steady is what wins the race, which leads to first having the desire, then thinking about the ability in your head and the reasoning behind the change that you want to make and what you might need to do. And then, of course, that comes down to commitment. So being consistently consistent with your goals is what's going to get you to the finish line. And, of course, then it's taking those action steps, following through, and congratulating yourself on the small victories that you make along the way.
Right. And this is where the taking the steps and the small victories are non-judgmental, right? So you think, oh, well, I really ate really poorly this week, even though I talked to the coach and we agreed that I would do this or do that. But when I went grocery shopping, I bought the salad and I bought the vegetables, but they kind of stayed in my refrigerator and I only snacked on them a couple of times. Congratulate yourself on that. You did something towards your goal of being healthier. So did it work out 100% the way you wanted it to? No, but you took a step forward. And that's where I think so many people get derailed because they don't congratulate themselves for what they did do. They only focus on what they did not do. And when you begin to focus on what you did do, now you can build on it. Okay, well, I had the snacks twice this week, and Joanne and I, we agreed that I would do it 3 times. So what's one more day? All right, I'll figure out, how do I get in one more day? How do I prepare that? How do I get out and take the walk one day? I know I committed to 3 days, but well, maybe it was raining, or it was really hot, or it was really cold, or, you had an emergency, but you did one day. Congratulations. And I think so much of the time we don't do that. We don't give ourselves that.
Right. But it's also setting yourself up for success, right?
Right.
So if you're someone who has been off the bandwagon and has not exercised for the past 2 months, for whatever reason, for you to be able to have a conversation with your coach and say, well, I'm going to work out 5 days this week for an hour a day, and I'm going to cut out all sugar, and I am going to drink a gallon of water a day. I would sit there and I would say to myself as a coach, hold on, time out. What is realistic? What can you truly accomplish so that you're not setting yourself up for failure?
Right. And that goes back to that immediate results, right?
Right. The immediate gratification. So what can we do to set you up for success and congratulate you on those successful pieces, because we want to keep putting that positive energy back into your brain. Again, faking it till you make it, till it's something that you can just do seamlessly.
Right. And I think, and that's where having those small steps, having the coach that kind of brings you back to reality. And when you're going off and saying, okay, I'm going to exercise for an hour a day, 5 days, to say, okay, hold on. That's our goal. That's where we want to go.
Absolutely.
How do we get there in smaller ways? So can we get to 15 minutes 3 times this week? And realizing that no matter how small, you're taking steps forward. It's okay to be the tortoise in this race.
Right. What I always say is, are you moving closer to your goals, or are you moving further away from your goals? And that's the part. But they're your goals. Your goals may not be the same as my goals, Tammy.
Mm-hmm. They might. And that's why coaches, that's how we come in and we help you to sort out your goals versus your friends' goals versus your family's goals. What is it that you want for you, about you, to help yourself move along and get closer to where you want to be?
Absolutely. It's your life. It's your choice. It's your health. And nobody can do that for you. I've talked about this before, my husband being a health professional. I remember when I used to coach in his office, I would say to all the patients there, all right, so now you're being accountable because you made your physical appointment with your health professional for 6 months from now or every year. So you think you've done a great job. You're taking care of yourself. You're making your appropriate doctor's appointments. That's all wonderful, getting in there. But, and this is the but, that's the but for change, not the but for procrastination. The but is, but what have you been doing to keep yourself accountable in between those office visits so that you're healthy, so you're not walking in with a bag to dump and you're just no better off than you were beforehand. In other words, people have to contribute to the process, right? So I think we're going to leave off with that today, Tammy. We have a lot more coming up that we're going to be talking about. We're going to really be talking about your health being the most important and precious asset that we have. And I'm ready to make long-term change. How can we do that? So that's something we're going to be working on. Tune in weekly on Sundays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard, 7 Pacific Time, coachmywellness.com, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Coach My Wellness. For more information about healthy habits and behaviors, visit our website at coachmywellness.com and follow us on Instagram at coachmywellness_CMW for weekly live streams, Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We hope to see you there.